Obviously, I've had a pretty consistent eye on that O line, and I got to tell you what, Charlie, they play well as a group, as a unit this off season, this preseason. I thought Coach Meyer coached them up well. Young guys have improved tremendously. I thought Mason McCormick is a guy who was on the rise in his second year. A lot has been made about Zach Frazier. He was our most critical player last year, but he came into camp ready to go, and he's becoming more of a leader. The two tackles in Broderick Jones and Troy Fontano, a lot to be made going into this preseason. Not a lot of experience, but their preseason really showed up in a big way. I thought they ended the camp on a high note. The biggest thing to me is that there wasn't a lot of talk about them. And O lineman, silence is beautiful. We love silence because that means you're not talking about us. Because whenever you're talking about O lineman, it's usually because you're giving up a sack or you're looking bad out there trying to protect your quarterback. And I know a lot of people off the year that Broderick had last year were really looking at 77, and I thought he stepped up in a big way this entire preseason.
No, I agree with you there because no, we haven't seen him at that position, so a lot of eyes was on that position, which is rightfully so. But
Mhm.
again, he's going to have to continue to answer those questions. But up until this point, we've seen, and the organization is very comfortable as it relates to where Broderick Jones is at. Troy, on the other hand, they want him to really just pick back up, but again, he is a red shirt rookie again because he didn't play minimal snaps last year, but yet he was coming off of that knee injury. More of that was going to be mental. It looks like he has rebounded from that. So to your point on the two tackles, there's not a lot of questions that we have coming out of the preseason that would may force this organization to say we have to now look to see what other tackles are out there that they may potentially have to trade for to now secure those spots. I think they answered those questions, and I think
Yeah.
they are comfortable with where they are. But to your point on where first years guys has to really take up and take the next step going into that second year, this offensive line, even though we're talking about the tackles, is going to be Zach Frazier. They're going to
Mhm.
move with him. And everything that I've seen up to this point, Zach looks like he's going to be the guy for the next 10 years based off the things that he's bringing to this offensive line. So I'm excited by watching the young Zach Frazier.
Yeah, he definitely has that pedigree, and especially is well documented what the lineage of centers for the Steelers looks like, and he looks like he's ready to step up and fill those big shoes. But yeah, to your point, there were a lot of questions about the tackles, but I think we left the preseason with a question about guard, specifically left guard. I know Isaac Siamalu has not played the entire preseason, and Spencer Anderson came in, and I thought he showed out really well. Not a lot has been talked about. Number 74 came in, uh, filled in for Isaac. Not many people knew the extent of Isaac injury, but has obviously kept him out this entire preseason. So the coaches felt that it was pertinent enough to keep him out. But in that, Spencer got those reps. We also brought in Andres Pete, who has Pro Bowl experience at left guard and played well in the preseason. And another thing, I mentioned Ryan McCullum. Ryan McCullum hadn't played the entire preseason, but came in and had a fantastic game against the Carolina Panthers. And it moved Max Sharping to right guard. And so Max Sharping was playing center the entire preseason and had a good preseason. And so to see that he has position flexibility at the guard position was good to see. Coaches had some tough decisions to be made. I think we got some quality. We were concerned about the tackles. Problem solved. I think we are now happy with where they are. We were concerned about the depth. I think that problem's been solved too. We brought in Andres Pete and Dylan Cook, who I did not mention before, also had a really good preseason. He was the only tackle to play both sides in the preseason that's still on the team right now. We had Gareth Warren, who got released this past Saturday, who got some of that action too. And so the coaches had some decisions to make. Stephen Jones is another guy who shows some position flexibility. So there's 10 guys in there that I think could make a case to make the squad. But usually the teams usually only keep like 8 or 9 offensive linemen. So that number game is going to be interesting as things play out.
It is, and again, do they keep 8? Do they go with 9? But whoever doesn't make it will ultimately end up on the practice squad. So I don't think they have to look on other people's roster because they have everything. They're assuming that those other guys don't get the opportunity to be on the active roster of on other teams. So that would ultimately figure out what happens from that perspective. But again, it goes back to now when you talked about Isaac, this is a guy now. It looks like he's back. I don't know, if he was truly dealing with an injury. Maybe Tomlin just gave him rest as he's getting closer to the week one opener. But ultimately, these 2 weeks are critical. And I say that only because And if you want your run game to be where you expect it to be, these guys are going to have to all practice together. Communications, understanding the double team, when to actually leave off the double team, moving up to the next level. You know that key more than anything, Trey. But again,
Mhm.
these guys have to practice together. And up until this point, your starting five that you have right now hasn't practiced together consistently. And that's going to be critical over the next 2 weeks in order to get those guys prepared for the Jets.